Joining us now is Oji Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Oji.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you?
Good morning, I'm good.
Good morning, Tundun.
Good morning,
You look
Oji.
lovely today.
Thank you,
Your pearls,
so do you.
Victoria. Good morning, Rufai. How are you?
Morning, Oji. How are you? How's everything?
I'm doing well, thank you. And good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in the United States. As it is election day today, Americans are excited and apprehensive in equal measure. President Donald Trump has been campaigning hard, especially on the issues where he appears to be struggling with the popular vote. On Sunday, he turned his rally in Florida into a campaign to terminate the job of the nation's top infectious disease expert, Anthony Fauci. Trump expressed frustration over media coverage of the coronavirus amid a nationwide spike. Rallying supporters, Trump suggested that the virus would get less news coverage after Election Day, which left the crowd chanting, "Fire Fauci." Let's take a listen.
But we're going to have a safe vaccine that ends the pandemic. Without it, it's rounding the turn. I say it drives them crazy. It's rounding the turn. Because all they want to do, you turn on the news, COVID, 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 COVID. Would like to talk about COVID, and then next time. Here's what happens, November 4th. You won't hear too much about it. You won't hear too much about it. Don't tell anybody, but let me wait till a little bit after the election. I appreciate the advice. I appreciate that. No, he's been wrong on a lot. He's a nice man, though. He's been wrong on a lot.
Donald Trump, he's been wrong a lot of times. Imagine. Anyway, you know, this particular issue has been a hot topic. And he knows perhaps he's probably losing popular vote with the way he's handled the coronavirus issue in the United States. I mean, right now we're looking at 9.3 million people infected with the disease and over 231,000 deaths in America. I mean, how can you beat that? Well, you know, but anyways, technically, he is not in any position to fire Fauci, you know, because he's not holding a political office. So I don't know where he thinks that he, you know, can rally his crowd to try to, you know, fire Fauci, because he's protected, Fauci, regardless. So it's impossible.
Well, generally, a baying mob
Yes.
at a political rally does make me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at historical footage of Hitler's rallies, that's a bit like what they look like. It's really kind of fascist. It's uncomfortable. And he shouldn't encourage people to do that. Remember the chant, "Lock her up." It was really uncalled for. And this is how politics in America has been characterized lately. Like Dr. Abati was giving them advice. Because as Nigerians, we are now in a good place to advise Americans, because we do not have these ad hominem personal attacks.
Right.
Can you imagine President Buhari standing on a podium blasting Dr. Chikwe Hikweazu and everybody chanting to fire him? It would never happen. We still have some kind of modicum of civility.
Well,
and thank God for that. This is really unfortunate. And it's the whole... His campaign style does tend to rally his base. And if it was just rhetoric, it wouldn't be that bad. But it goes beyond rhetoric. And he has had this tweet a few hours ago where he was saying that violence will be incited. It's actually scary because words, you know, beget actions. So somebody like Dr. Fauci, you now see, when you see this kind of rally, you see why his security had to be beefed up. His family's security had to be beefed up. This man is being attacked. He's had credible death threats. It's really unfortunate, just in trying to do his job. And Donald Trump will have us believe that awful statistic you just mentioned, over 200,000 deaths in America, is great, because it was expected that 2 million people would die. So he's done really well to keep it at 200,000. I mean, who says that?
It's going up. Every day it's going up. Today we're at 553.
How can he say that? And then you have the seniors who were huge Trump supporters in 2016, feeling that the president thinks they're expendable, and they're now looking to vote Democrat. Lifelong Republicans of a certain age feel really hard done by the Trump presidency's handling of the coronavirus.
Yes, and he's also just, telling Fauci that he's been making a lot of mistakes, especially with his push for the new vaccine. He really thinks that once he gets into office, he's going to have a vaccine that he'll give all the American people, and this disease is going to go away.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, President Trump has been having a running battle with the scientists on the issue of COVID-19, which is a major issue in the 2020 election, along with the other issues, the George Floyd protests, Affordable Care Act, and the economy and its performance and demeanor, conduct, generally as President of the United States. But Fauci has been a special target for him.
Yeah.
Whether the issue is about the threat of COVID-19 or the wearing of masks, or when the vaccine will be found. And on many occasions, President Trump has decided to play politics with COVID-19, contradicting almost at every turn the scientists. And this is not the first time that Dr. Fauci's name will come up at a campaign rally. And it's very convenient for President Trump to use him, the top infectious diseases expert in the United States, to campaign. But what has triggered this, I guess, was a recent interview granted by Dr. Fauci to the Washington Post, in which he says that the future ahead, is very scary for the United States. And he pointed out that, again, that herd immunity is not going to have any effect, and that there may be no vaccine by the end of this year, and that even if there is any vaccine, before it can go around, will take much later in 2021. Right. And he said that, look, there has to be an urgent review of public health conduct approaches within the United States, which, of course, looks like a veiled criticism of President Trump. And then he was asked a question about the two major candidates. And he said, well, Vice President Biden will seem to be approaching COVID-19 from a public health perspective, but that, President Trump is more interested in economic recovery and business. Okay, and that was interpreted as a partisan comment. Fauci taking a position very close to the election. But the truth of the matter is that Dr. Fauci himself is an American citizen, right? And I guess he's also covered by the 15th Amendment, right. And he has the right to free speech, to speak for himself. So that is where the issue is. But you see, Trump supporters, they are very good at intimidating people. They've been quarreling and engaging in violent, riotous conduct, across the United States, such that in the U.S. today, many shop owners have had to board up their stores ahead of the election and even after, because everybody is afraid that there may be violence. So this is the situation. But whether he fires Fauci or not, Fauci is a scientist. He's in a safe place, okay? So that is where we are with that.
Yes. He is protected by the federal civil
rules.
Yes,
civil service rules.
Yes. Rufai, your take on the story.
So there you just saw Donald Trump lie again, because he can't even fire Fauci. Let's look at it critically. Fauci doesn't even hold any position apart from being a member of the COVID-19 task force. He doesn't hold any position. He's no longer in charge of the CDC. He used to be in charge of NIAID before, from 1983 to 2002. What made Fauci prominent in all of this is the authority Fauci had become in medicine.
Right. I
didn't know Fauci from today. I knew Fauci since this fight against HIV/AIDS. This COVID-19 didn't even make Fauci popular. It was from AIDS days that Fauci was known. Fauci is an intellectual, he's a brain, and the reason why everybody listens to Fauci when he talks, in terms of epidemiology on infectious diseases in America, Fauci, let me use this word, is a small god. So even if you fire him out of the COVID-19 task force, it doesn't make any difference. A bunch of scientists and a lot of scientists will still listen to his opinion, because it's not today Fauci has been doing it. He did it with AIDS. He was the one that helped with the American fight against AIDS and the likes. So it just shows that the supporters, they were very ignorant to be chanting lock him up. Fauci gained his integrity because of what he stands for. And let me just give you a clear instance who a Fauci is like in this country. When COVID started in this country, Dr. Yekweazu, yes, did a fine job, but to a large extent, we never threw the words away of Professor Tomori. We never threw the words away of Professor Tomori because we know what Professor Tomori has done as regards infectious disease in this country. You know, the fight against, other diseases like polio and the like. So that's the kind of stature of Fauci. Some people don't need an office. Fauci is not the director of the CDC. It's just his integrity and experience over the years that speak for him. And when he says it, please listen to him. Trump is best to listen to Fauci and do what Fauci says to be able to fight coronavirus. Pretty much reminds me of the word of Lyndon B. Johnson. After Walter Cronkite in the 60s went to Vietnam, came back from Vietnam, did an on-the-spot assessment. And Lyndon B. Johnson, the president of America then, did say about a journalist called Walter Cronkite that if Walter Cronkite says we have lost the war in Vietnam, we have lost the half of America. So some people are known because of their personal integrity. A poll was conducted in the 60s. Walter Cronkite, by just being a journalist on TV, they said if he had run for president, he would have gotten the Republican Party nomination. That's the level of popularity, and that's the kind of person Anthony Fauci is. So Trump and Trump supporters, you're just wasting your time.
No, but I have to say, Trump recently signed an executive order which would allow him, when it comes into effect in January, to fire civil servants who would ordinarily have protection. I think about 2 million civil servants will come under that executive order. So we constantly see Trump's dictatorial tendencies. Yes.
All right, we'll take another story. Still in the United States, where no fewer than 9 Nigerian Americans are on the ballot for today's elections. Running mostly on the platform of the Democratic Party, the candidates are bidding for various offices at the federal, state, and local levels. Besides the presidential election, governorship polls are holding in 11 states and 2 territories in addition to other state and local elections. Well, let's take a look at each candidate. At the federal level, Mr. Oye Owolewa, whose father is from Kwara and mother from Oyo State, is aiming for a shadow seat in the House of Representatives. He's a PhD holder in pharmacy from the Northeastern University in Boston. He's seeking to represent the District of Columbia under the Democratic Party. Also, at the federal level, Mr. Yomi Fakbalrusi, an Ibadan-born native of Ode Ekiti in Ekiti State, is vying as an independent candidate to represent the state of Tennessee in the U.S. Senate. Mr. Fakbalrusi holds a doctorate in medicine from the University of Ibadan, a PhD in health from Johns Hopkins University, and a Juris Doctorate from the Widener University School of Law in Delaware. While in Missouri, a Republican-controlled state, Mr. Yinka Faleti from Lagos is the Democratic Party flag bearer in the election, vying for the office of Secretary of State. Faleti was in the U.S. Army as an active duty officer from 1998 to 2004. He served in Kuwait, first under Operation Desert Spring, and later as part of Operation Enduring Freedom. Also, at the state level, Mr. Paul Akinjo from Ondo State is running for election to the California State Assembly under the Democratic Party to represent District 12. Akinjo once served as vice mayor of Lathrop, California, and in the U.S. Army Reserve from 1982 to 1989. While in Delaware, Mr. Adewumi Kuforiji is aspiring to represent District 34 in the State House of Representatives. Mr. Kuforiji, originally from Ibadan in Oyo State, secured the Democratic Party's ticket on September 15th after defeating his challenger, Robert Haynes, at the primary. He holds a bachelor's in accounting and a master's in business administration from the Delaware State University. Also, at the state level, Ms. Esther Agbaje is seeking to represent District 59B in the Minnesota House of Representatives on the platform of Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party as an affiliate of the U.S. Democratic Party. Ms. Agbaje has a law degree from Harvard University, a master's from the University of Pennsylvania, and has served in the U.S. Department of State, among others. While on the ballot, at the local government level, is April Ademi-Louis, who is running on the Democratic Party's ticket for judge of the 7th Circuit Court in Prince George's County, Maryland. Still at the local government level is Ngozi Akubike, who is a legal practitioner. She's an independent candidate for judge of the Minnesota 2nd District Court Position 8. Ms. Okpe studied law in Nigeria, then worked in the banking sector before moving to the U.S., where she graduated from Mitchell Hamline School of Law. Finally, we have Benjamin Osemenami, who moved to the U.S. in 1982. He's contesting for the seat in Brooklyn Park City Council of Minnesota to represent the East District. He's an engineer with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. He's vying for the platform of the National Party. He's a former president of the Association of Nigerian Engineers in Minnesota. Well, I am so impressed with these 9 Nigerians that are contesting for elections today. All I can do is wish them good luck.
Yes, I'm hoping and praying they all win. We'll follow up on all of them. But you're right, this is such an impressive roll call.
Yeah.
And we're reminded once again that Nigerians are the most educated, the most successful immigrant group in the United States of America. I mean, would you just look at these people?
I mean,
yes. And then it also reminds me that Donald Trump said of Nigerians that once they come to America, they'll never want to go back to their huts. This is the caliber of people he's talking about. He cannot stand next to a single one of them.
No.
We wish them all the best. I'm so proud.
I had to read all of their,
so accomplished.
I join you in wishing them all the best. But this again is a celebration of the Nigerian spirit and character. Nigerians, wherever they may be in the world, end up excelling. They stand out because this is a country of greatly talented people. This is another indication of the kind of diamonds that Nigeria continues to contribute to the world space.
Yeah.
Whether it's in politics or it's in science. I mean, look at Nigerians in the top companies all over the world. You have Nigerians even working in NASA and similar, important institutions all over the world, and also excelling in academia. Now, this is about politics, and it's becoming really common now that you see Nigerians not just going to other countries, but also getting involved in the politics of the environment. We have Nigerians who are mayors across Europe. We have, at the moment, about 7 Nigerians in the House of Parliament, the House of Commons in the UK in 2017. Chuka Muna, Fiona Grant, Kate Badenoch, I think that's her name. Fiona. Kate Osamo. But there's also a Badenoch. And then there is also Onosanya.
Yes.
So you have these Nigerians all over the world. In Canada, the other day, we were celebrating Casey Madu.
Casey Madu,
who became an attorney general, a minister of justice in Alberta, Canada. And then, of course, the other question to raise, of course, is whether or not these persons identify as Nigerians. But I know from the names, they are as Nigerian.
Dr. Abati, you always have to go there.
No, they are as Nigerian as we are. But also, they integrate into those communities and they try to have a say.
Right.
Yes, but looking at their profile, most of them, studied here in Nigeria.
These are well-educated people,
right.
Truly distinguished.
Rafai, I know you want
to answer your question, Dr. Abati, they actually identify as Nigerians. When this NSAS thing started, let's not forget it was Katie Osama that wrote a letter asking due questions that, okay, the British government gives money to governments of states for security and the likes, and they might have given money that might be used for SARS. That why can't we talk about this? I mean, Katie Osama wrote that letter. I'm not sure because I didn't follow up with that letter to see that if she had gotten a response as regards that. And they really identify, with Nigeria to a large extent. I know of Chuka Umuna. In fact, I was at a forum where he was speaking, and he talked about his rich, Igbo heritage. As he said. Also, when you look at the likes of actors like Chiwetel Ejiofor and Zain Asha, that of the cable news network, you'd see that these people talk about their history and their heritage as Nigerians, and that these people are not far from. You'll be surprised because these people still have relatives at home, and their relatives now are praying for them. And if you even remember Barack Obama's victory, when he first became first African-American president, he had to come. There was a big celebration in Kenya that night, and he had to come back. And I remember even how Nigerians here did do a fundraising, for Barack Obama to be able to get some money to support his elections. So East or West, home is home. These people, yes, they might be doing well in America, but they still look back home and know the proceedings and things that are happening. And you'll be shocked when most of these people get seats and the likes in America and issues that affect Nigeria are being talked about. They will step up to the plate and will talk about it. Just like Katie Osama. I mean, Nigeria is a country that it's so deep in your heart that anywhere you go in the world, you know that you are in Nigeria. And you can never forget Nigeria. You can never leave it alone. Being in Nigeria is an addiction, honestly.
There's nothing like it.
I would like to be in Nigeria, despite all of the shenanigans and everything that happens, but you still love the country. You still love the country. What you want to know is when you go out of the country, you say, oh, you have light and everything. But there's this feeling, once you touch down in Nigeria airspace, and you feel the air once again, you're like, I'm back in Nigeria. Nigeria for life.
But can I say she got a response to her letter? The British authorities admitted training SARS, which is kind of embarrassing for them.
Great. I like that response, Tundu. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
All right. We'll take a story in Nigeria. The governor of Anambra State announced over the weekend that the Nigerian army has deployed an all-female squad to the state on a peacekeeping mission. The governor, Willie Obiano, announced this via Twitter, adding that the deployment of the special squad will complement the efforts of other security agencies in the state, whose hard work has kept the state as the safest in Nigeria. Well, users on Twitter have shared mixed reactions in response to his tweet. We'll take one tweet from a Cletus, who wrote, "Civilian policing is the responsibility of the Nigerian police. Withdraw the Nigerian army from the streets to the barracks where they rightfully belong. We're not at war. And you politicians can simply declare war on Nigerian citizens for asking for good governance. #EndSARS." You know, as much as I love the image and, all of the female military, I support Cletus's tweet. Because, only yesterday we took the story from Rivers State where, the community is complaining of brutality by the military. I don't see any reason why the Nigerian army should be on the streets at this point. I think that they have a strong police force who can handle the civilians on the streets.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Gender equality is one thing.
I love it, but
militarizing our democracy is an entirely different proposition and one that should be rejected. We have to be consistent about these things because they're all women and it looks great and it reminds me of the Dahomey Amazons. Did you watch Black Panther? I'm sure you did. Dora Milaje, all of that. Yeah, that's great. But we don't want soldiers on our streets, period.
Well,
I want to play the devil's advocate and to assume that, these female soldiers have been invited to help keep the peace in Anambra State. And you know that Anambra State was one of the major hotspots during the EndSARS protests in the southern part of Nigeria. And constitutionally, Section 218 refers, the military can be invited in aid of civil authority. But usually it's for a very short period of time. But what we have had is the violation of the rules of procedure on the part of soldiers when they are brought in to act in aid of civil authorities. And at a time when police stations had been burnt down and all of us are complaining that police morale is low, we cannot find the police on the streets, and we're being told that governors are now pacifying the police. The Inspector General of Police is going around. How many are these policemen anyway? Just about 400,000 that we have in the entire country. Additional 10,000 that was recruited resulted in a fight and a showdown and a legal tussle between the Police Service Commission and the Inspector General of Police. So in an extraordinary situation, you can draft in the military, but only for a short operation, and once they do what they have to do, they leave. So what we can insist upon is that these young ladies who have been drafted to Anambra State should ensure that they conduct themselves professionally in line with the rules of engagement in this regard. If you look at other countries of the world, in critical moments, the military is called in. Even in the UK, there is a 7,500 unit on standby to help in the face of this lockdown in case certain challenges, arise with the national lockdown.
They don't get nervous when they see soldiers like we do.
Well, you have a point there.
We are quite traumatized as a nation.
Yeah. Well, but the second point is that I think it's good optics to see young female soldiers, a whole unit of female combatants. This would have been impossible many years ago in Nigeria. It wasn't until October 2011 that female cadets were admitted to the Nigerian Defense Academy,
yes,
the 63rd regular combatant course. And that first set, 20 of them graduated in 2016. There was a lady called Lehman who was even a prize winner. And since then, we've been having female cadets being admitted, and they've been excelling either in Navy or in the Air Force. And this is, a good demonstration of that vision, what it has produced. And I kept saying, yes, we had a Rear Admiral in the Navy, Rear Admiral Untonu, who was the first one. But, I hope that one of these ladies, we call them queens, will end up as Chief of Army Staff, yes, or Chief of Naval Staff someday in the history of Nigeria, to show that, look, gender equality, can be across board in every profession, and that women are not even, if, you can't treat them as second-class citizens, even in a specialized field as a military service. And when, we started seeing many of these queens wielding guns and providing security services when I was in government, I used to see some men, they will go to the ladies, they say, oh, you are so beautiful with this your gun.
Yeah.
If you just shoot me, I will go straight to heaven. But that's on the lighter side. It's also a way of admiring, this emerging phenomenon.
So you mean even in uniform, there's no immunity from corny lyrics?
Not well, I love the fact that they're all female. I hope that, like you said, Nigerians have this scary thing for the Nigerian military, and hopefully they see that there are women, the situation will be calmer as opposed to the way it is right now. Rufai.
For me, so this is my perspective. I mean, Dr. Abati, thanks for the insight about 2011 before admitting women into the Defense Academy, female cadets. So I just want to ask this. It's a question you can answer. So that means Dr. Yemi Kale's mother didn't go through the Defense Academy, isn't it? Because I know she's one of the first Major Generals. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr.
Yes,
Abati.
Major General Ronke Kale.
Ronke Kale. So
yes.
Dr. Yemi Kale's mother didn't go through the Defense Academy?
No, there were women who were admitted into the Education Corps, who were admitted into the medical corps over the years. It's not as if women were not in the military, but not as combatants.
Not as combatants, okay.
Yeah, so that first admission in 2011 was to admit ladies, queens, as regular combatants. Okay. And that's why you now have female pilot fighters in the Nigerian Army. Now you have, ladies being deployed to Sambisa Forest to fight Boko Haram. So you have those combatants, and they've been excelling. Okay,
and the story of these women have been very inspiring, and I support them wholeheartedly. And by extension, I spare some thought for the very blessed memory of Arutile,
yes,
that passed on. Really very painful one. But the sight of military scares anybody on the streets. I mean, I had been in Warri in the thick of the struggle, and the military were in the street for about a year or two. It was not a good sight. There was also a time I was abroad. I got to Shade Gaulle, and I saw the military patrolling. This was amidst that terrorist attack. It's not always a good sight. But if this is to keep the peace for now, let's just have a timeline at which they are going to leave the street so that it doesn't look as though Nigeria is under occupation. And most importantly, please, I pray for peace in Oyibo local government area. And I pray that we see a return to normalcy in such a way that the military can leave that Oyibo so that the people of Oyibo local government can continue their lives in peace and in harmony.
Yeah, well, talking about the time frame, Dr. Abati, I mean, this happened over the weekend. I mean, this NSAS protest and the looting has gone on for almost 2 weeks now. Today is Tuesday. So, I mean, how is it that you're saying the time frame should be short? How short?
No, that's not for me to determine.
I mean, that's the question.
They have their commander.
Yeah.
There is a commander who deployed them, who will have determined the level of threat. Soldiers talk about the level of threat. And that is what will determine what will be done, or the duration of the operation.
When he claims Anambra is the most peaceful.
But we need, if there is no problem, soldiers will not be deployed in aid of a civil authority. And I guess the commander has a good sense of humor. He sent ladies.
No, but you know that in aid of civil authority has
Yeah.
been abused. You recall that it's been the subject of a plethora of court cases.
Yes.
Of course, including the various operations from Ugweke to Crocodile Smile 6.
We always worry about it.
Exactly. We'll take our final story. In Kwara State, Nigeria, where 4 young men are gaining attention after they sold their belongings to raise the sum of 3.5 million naira, with which they constructed the working prototype of an aircraft. In an interview, the young men, who were school leavers from the Lorin West local government area of the state, said they initiated the current project in 2017 and showcased it on October 1st. During the interview, the men said they had reached out to politicians and government officials, including the Nigerian Air Force, to help fund the project, but are yet to receive any feedback. They added that the current prototype, which is their 9th, was funded with all personal resources, and all the materials used in building the aircraft were sourced locally. I mean, how amazing is this story? I am just frustrated that they had to go through all of these measures to be able to prove that they can do this in Nigeria.
It's frustrating and inspiring in equal measure because they were not deterred. You know, where there's a will, there really is a way. They actually went and sold their personal belongings.
Yes.
They didn't just fold their arms and just think, well, that's that. These are amazing gentlemen. Nigerian excellence.
Exactly.
Yes, I think they deserve to be celebrated indeed. But what is worrisome is that after they made all that effort, they raised the money themselves. They said they tried to book an appointment with first the governor and also at other levels. They were promised that they would be granted audience, but up to this moment, nobody has granted them audience. Part of the responsibility of leadership, oftentimes, is to give people hope, is to provide support, is to encourage. These are young men who have used their own resources to invent, to be creative. With some political leaders say all the time that, you don't always have to look up to government. Why don't you look inwards and be creative? And when we see such young people who are trying to express their talent, I think the minimum that the relevant government departments can do is to provide encouragement for them. Now, to go further, I think, this is also another indication of the need within the curriculum, within the Nigerian education system, to provide support for what is popularly known as STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we've seen quite a number of Nigerian students excelling in international competitions in that regard. Secondary school students in tertiary levels. So because, we just have to invest in that area. And as many young people we see showing interest, should be encouraged and not ignored or neglected.
Very good point. Rufai, your take on the story.
For me, when I saw those boys, guess what came to my mind? The picture of Orville and Wilbur Wright, the 2 brothers from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, the Wright Brothers, the first flew a plane in 1908.
Absolutely, me too.
It is possible, and what we should do is we should support people like this. Another very instructive story comes to mind. In the late 50s, the government of Brazil came and they said, rather than buying planes, let's start up our own planes. So they had a long acronym for the company. The acronym is Embraer. And today, Embraer lasts and Embraer churns out planes. Embraer personally makes a sizable amount to the Brazilian economy. That project was started in 59-60 when Nigerian Airways was buying planes. I think we need to start thinking towards innovation and invention. And very good point you made about STEM, Dr. Abati. These are people we need to support. We can start making our first planes in this country. You'll be amazed at how government can come in and step in and create a production line for things like this and be able to export. You see, every nation that has advanced in the history of the world has built something. Prior to this time, one of the biggest problems of China is that they had not built a plane. But China finally achieved that over 10, 15 years ago when they built a plane called the Comac plane. America has Boeing, Europe, Airbus. So all these countries have plane-making companies. And if Nigeria is truly the giant of Africa, we need to be able to build stuff. So what I would say the government should do is, I think the Ministry of Science and Technology should take this up. They should get a special grant. They could have used the money that we used in launching the 2 space satellites that I don't think they are working today. I believe if they invest in them, this boy should develop the prototype. They should get a cross test. Even if it's mid-range planes, we can make a lot of it to service various routes, mid-range economical planes. I have a friend that schooled in Ukraine, an aeronautical engineer, and he was telling me that one of the problems why fares of plane, domestic flights are expensive in this country is that we don't have short, small, mid-range plane. Most of the airlines are still using big planes like the Boeings and the likes to tour from Nigeria, from Lagos to Abuja, for instance. If we can get these guys, they should build a prototype. They should build like a 24-seater propeller plane. And if we can multiply that with good fuel economy, I believe that you can carry Lagos to Abuja at a shorter price. But you need to be able to develop this sector. No country that's grown has not done that by developing sectors. They might not have all the money. That's why people come together. That's why private investors come together. I mean, when Henry Ford built the first car, what a lot of people don't know about Henry Ford is that J.P. Morgan was one of his greatest investors when he built the first car. Just like Rolls-Royce. Rolls had the money, Royce had the experience. Royce knows how to build the cars. So investors should look at people like this. And I beg on the biggest Nigerian investors. I know you don't like to put your hands dirty in technology. You rather put your hands in treasury bills and the likes and things that are safe bets for you. Please, put money in things like this. I know if we commission close to 5 or 10 billion naira, I know these guys will complete a prototype and probably make one product out and perfect the process and start reproducing airlines across board. This can be a big money earner. I just foresee a day when Nigeria will be supplying all aircrafts across Africa. We'll be supplying, cars across Africa and things like that. That's how you can truly earn foreign exchange, because these are value-added products. It's not like your crude oil that you send crude and they refine it and they bring it back to you. These are value-added products. It takes you about 7 billion to make, one commercial line of plane, and you can sell this for as long as much of billions of naira.
Well, the average Nigerian investor would calculate the risks involved. And to talk about making things, we have a Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON. I think the other day they were celebrating the fact that they succeeded in manufacturing a drone. And we saw the drone being celebrated up and down by DICON after almost 30 years of existence. Thank you very much.
You're talking about this. Only even last year, UNN students made the first electric car, and we still don't know anything about that.
Dr. Abati, I know a young man that's in GSS1 that made a drone.
Well, DICON produced a drone. Since you want Nigeria to produce something.
Could you?
Thank you very much, Oji.
Thank you, Dr.
I look forward to seeing you again
tomorrow. Bye, Rufai. Thank you.